Hello again everybody. So I'm just about to go for a little ride on the bike. Going to take it about 15-20 minutes up the road, go do a bit of shopping. But it is November, end of November, and here in the Czech Republic it is actually a little bit cold. According to the weather forecast, it's sort of between -3 and -1 degrees here today. I've just checked, it's actually about -2 at the minute. And that's obviously standing still, so that's not moving or factoring in the wind. So if you factor in wind chill, according to the forecast again, it's actually more like -6. So I thought I would go over with you guys what I wear and what I do to stay warm on the bike in these temperatures. Now obviously I could take the car, but I'm only going for a few little bits, and the actual weather outside isn't too bad. It's cloudy, it's dark, but the road surface is dry, and basically I'm not much of a fair weather rider. I'll ride in all conditions, but it's a fairly nice day to go for a ride. It's just cold. So let's go over this. So as with keeping warm in general, mostly it's just about layers. If you want to keep warm doing anything outside, you want to wear more layers. Now I obviously I won't show you, but I am wearing a set of base layers. So I'm wearing a base layer vest and base layer trousers under my normal trousers, mostly because I don't like being cold, and I'm sort of at that age where I don't really care what people think. I just want to be comfortable. So I'm already wearing 2 layers. So as an addition to that, obviously because we're on the bike and because we're going along and it's quite cold, I also like to wear these. These are they're actually ski trousers, and they do a fantastic job because they've got a nice sort of layer on the inside that keeps you toasty and warm, so I have no issues there. So that's my legs. On my top, obviously I've already mentioned I'm wearing a thermal, well, it's not thermal, it's a base layer vest, and then obviously my normal t-shirt and jumper. And then my actual coat isn't anything special, it's just a normal bike jacket. Obviously I've got the, don't know what you guys can see this, I've got the liner in it, which again is just like an extra layer. The whole idea is that obviously by having multiple layers, there's multiple areas that warm air can get trapped and keep you warm. Another thing to point out actually with the base layers, the sort of, sometimes they're referred to as thermal vests and thermal leggings, but that's not really how they work. They're actually designed to, if you sweat, because what you don't want is when you sweat, obviously you lose heat. So, and also because you've got moisture on your skin, it cools you down, because that's how sweating works. Obviously, it produces moisture on the surface of your skin, which then allows heat to evaporate, and that cools you down in the summer. But we don't want that in the winter. So generally, the idea of base layers is they actually take that moisture away from your skin as quickly as possible, so that you don't lose too much heat through that evaporation. So that's that. So that's my top half. That's my trousers. So then moving on to my gloves. These are a normal pair of winter motorcycle gloves. Got these from the Suzuki dealership a few years back. Obviously they're quite thick. They've got that sort of I don't know what you call that, sort of fake fleece internal to them. Obviously, one thing I'll say about winter gloves is they do sort of inhibit your movement a little bit. They're obviously nowhere near as flexible as my summer riding gloves. I mean, if you look, obviously the comparison, these are actually a set of motocross gloves for the summer. Really flexible. They've got the armour, but they're really, free. Whereas these, because they're thicker by comparison, they're obviously still the same armour and stuff, but they do restrict your movement a little bit, but not too much. One thing I quite like about these as well, if you can see this, they've actually got like a little scraper thing for scraping stuff off your visor as you're going along, so that's quite cool. So that's my gloves. And that's pretty much it for, well, almost it for what I wear, on myself. The other thing obviously is boots, which obviously I'll just tuck these into, but they're just normal riding boots, they're nothing special. So that's the gear I wear, and generally speaking that keeps me incredibly warm. So moving on to the bike itself, the biggest thing really is these. Now obviously they don't look the prettiest things in the world. I know a lot of people hate these things, but honest to God, they make a huge difference, because it doesn't matter how thick a pair of gloves you wear, these will never keep your hands warm for longer than a couple of minutes before you start, especially in these temperatures. Your hands are going to get cold. The only way to keep your hands warm is to keep the wind off them in the first place, and that's what these do. Now, I know there's the argument that you could just have heated grips. Some motorcycles come with heated grips as standard, and obviously there's plenty of heated grips on the market that you can buy and install on your motorcycle. They're not difficult to install. The one thing I'd say about those though is that, firstly, if your bike doesn't come with them in the first place, fitting them isn't as simple as you might think. Because yeah, sure, actually fitting them and getting them to work is just a case of put them on, hook them up to the battery. Easy, right? However, if you have, well, actually, a lot of motorcycles aren't designed to run extra accessories, and especially if you have a smaller capacity motorcycle like me, I've got a 125, or even if you've got like a 250 or a 400, that's still a relatively small capacity bike. Generally speaking, they're not actually, the charging systems and the electrical systems are not designed to run that extra accessory. And heated grips, they actually use quite a bit of power, so you're drawing quite a bit of extra power out of a system that's not designed to cope with it. And what can basically happen over a period of time, if you're not careful, is you can actually overload and damage the charging system, the battery, and all sorts of things, and cause a lot of problems to your bike. You might not notice it straight away, but it will happen, and it will happen over a period of time. So it's kind of up to you whether you think it's worth it. Obviously, if you've got a BMW 1200 or something like that, you don't have to worry about that, because that's a much bigger engine, and generally the charging system can cope with a few accessories. But as I say, if you've got a smaller bike or something like that, I would sort of think twice about it. The other thing I would say about heated grips is that yes, they're fantastic. You hold on, you've got a nice warm grip, but it only heats the inside of your hand. So as you're going along, you've still got the wind coming and hitting the outside of your hand, and your hand still gets cold, which can be quite painful, especially if it's as cold as it is here. So yes, if your bike has them already, fantastic. Or if you've got a larger capacity bike and you want them, then yeah, sure, go for it. But I would say definitely, either way, even if you have heated grips, I would definitely have something to stop the wind from hitting your hand directly. So even if you go for something like those like bark busters, those I don't know what else you call them, hand guards or whatever, that off-roaders have to stop your hands from getting hit by branches and stuff, that will help to a degree. But honestly, the thing that makes the biggest difference is these hand muffs. Now, with regards to like safety of these things, they're designed so that if you have an accident, they will pull off. Your hand comes out of it easily. I would say if you do get these things, some people, I have heard a few people say that they complain that on sports bikes and things like that, sometimes when you're going faster, they pull on the front brake or the clutch. Now, I've never experienced this. I've had these on a sports bike, I've had them on this, and I've had them up to quite high speeds, and I've never experienced that happening. But I would definitely say that if you're going to go for a decent quality set, because they're not the most expensive things in the world anyway. But you can, obviously, as with all things, there's the cheaper end of the scale and the more expensive end. And I would say at the cheaper end of the scale, some of the materials and things like that, they're not quite as good, and I can see how they might cause a little bit of an issue. Also, I did have a cheaper pair before, and I found that the openings, so you'll see on these ones, these openings, they don't really close, which is good because your hand comes in and out of them easily, and obviously that's what you want. Whereas the cheaper set I had just had like a cheap bit of wire keeping them open, and sometimes that would kind of make it difficult to get your hand in and out. Your hand would still come out in the event of an accident or something, and you wouldn't be injured, but if you wanted to just take your hand out and open your visor or something, it was a bit of a pain. So again, that's why I'd say get like a decent quality set, because it makes all the difference. Also, the other thing about spending that extra couple of quid is that you get a better material which is likely to last a lot longer as well. So it just makes sense, at the end of the day. And as I say, yes, they look goofy, but honest to God, these make the biggest difference with keeping your hands nice and toasty. And I think that's pretty much it. Let's say there's nothing special about it, but that combination of gear. So these things, thicker gloves, my ski trousers, and then just my standard jacket with the base layer. Actually, no, there is one other thing. the sort of ski mask or whatever you call it, balaclava. I like to wear one of these because most of the heat that you lose is actually through your head. So just by having that sort of inside of your helmet as well, that does again just help you to keep warm. And of course you've got this bit which goes down for your neck and stops the wind from getting down into your jacket. That's another kind of important thing. You want to make sure that the wind's not getting in under your clothes and sort of cooling you down that way. But that's it. So that's literally everything. Nice and simple, effective on literally any bike. Doesn't require any modification to the bike itself. I don't know if I mentioned actually, I do have a heated seat on this thing, but I don't actually use it when it's this cold. I only use the heated seat. So if I'm out and about, like in warmer weather, and it gets towards the evening and it gets slightly colder, then I'll use the heated seat just to warm myself up a bit. But when you've got this many layers on, you don't actually feel the heated seat very much. So when it's this cold, I don't actually need or use the heated seat, because these trousers and the combination of gear that I wear keep me so warm. It's absolutely fine. And I'm going along, this is only a 125, it's quite a slow one as well, so I'm going along at about 50 miles an hour, 55 miles an hour most of the time. It will go a little bit faster than that, but not much. So it's not like I'm hitting 100 miles an hour or anything in this kind of weather, but at 55, 60 miles an hour, I am perfectly comfortable and I could ride all day long. Really, the only time that I don't like going out is in the rain, because it doesn't matter how much gear you wear, eventually you're just going to get soaked through. You can't, there's a real limit to how long you can ride, no matter how much gear, how much expensive gear. Like you could spend as much as you like on motorcycle gear, you're going to get wet after a certain amount of time. Yeah, some stuff will keep you drier for longer, but I don't think I've ever gone out for more than about half an hour before I started to, starts to seep through. So, I'll ride in the cold all day long because this gear keeps me perfectly warm, but in the wet, yeah, grab the car is all I can say to that. So there you go, guys. That's just a quick video showing you how I keep myself warm in minus degree temperatures. Hopefully you found it useful. If you did, please do give it a like. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. Go check out my other videos, and for now, I'll catch you again soon.